Bro, CIA don't even try to do fucking psyops. They just kind of look at you like this. They just come in here and they go, come on, talk about something else. Have you considered talking about something else today? China? Maybe China? New poll, majority of Americans believe Trump launched Iran war to cover up Epstein's scandal. Oh, God. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take whatever Americans believe. FBI warns cops about Iran drone strikes on California. What? FBI has warned police departments in California that Iran wants to retaliate for American attacks by launching offensive drones against the West Coast. That's insane. No. What are you saying? First of all, like, the question I have is, that's the wrong coast. With what capabilities will the Iranians hit the West Coast, man? I'll be honest with you, dude. I mean, this is just like, are we planting a false flag? This is giving false flag. Okay. Very difficult for me to read this as anything but a potential false flag setup. I'm not gonna lie. The West Coast? Not even the East Coast, mind you. The West Coast? What are they gonna do? What Iranian capabilities exist where they can deploy Shahed drones off of the West Coast? Like what? They sent one of their Armada ships? Brother, Israel's Jericho 3 nuclear strike capabilities don't reach the West Coast. Think about how stupid this argument is. They're targeting Beverly Hills. Yeah, I think it's I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. Oh God. If I die in a psyop, if I die in a false flag, I'm gonna be so pissed. Like, just to get the rest of the goddamn country on board with this idiotic war for Israel. They're trying to hit the diaspora. No, they're not, dude. They're not trying to hit shit. Iran has literally said over and over again, we have no smoke for the American citizens. It's entirely Orientalist. It's entirely for the assumption that there is like this notion that like Hamas wants to kill Americans. Bullshit. Hamas has never operated outside of the confines of occupied Palestinian territory, and they literally tell people not to do any like lone wolf attacks or anything like that outside of occupied Palestinian territory. Okay, and yet if you ask the average American, they think, oh, well, Hamas does actually present a major threat to Americans. Like, it's bullshit. Same with Iran. Like, Americans do not get attacked by Iranian sleeper cells or even Hamas or Hezbollah. Like, that's not a real thing, okay? The only people that have activated sleeper cells in the country or have, like, instigated terror attacks in this country have been American State Department affiliated Salafist terror groups and you know, groups such as ISIS, okay, groups such as Al Qaeda, okay. It's ridiculous, and so many people don't understand that there is like major differences between these groups. Like Hamas is a nationalist emancipatory resistance front. Iran obviously is a whole ass sovereign nation state. Hezbollah is a paramilitary formation with its own political party in the Lebanese parliament. These are oftentimes factions that have fought and much success fought against ISIS and Al Qaeda style formations. They're not aligned with one another, but you can't, you just can't educate Americans on this stuff. They just cannot comprehend it. They literally think, oh, it's all the same. They're all Muslim, right? I don't know how to get across to the Americans that like Israel and the United States of America are more closely affiliated with Al Qaeda and ISIS style groups that have actually successfully struck American territory, successfully actually committed acts of terror on U.S. soil. Like, they are infinitely closer to the CIA, both in their ambitions and in their goals, and play a major role in agitating the Americans into waging war in the region that happens to take out Israel's enemies, right? Like, it's just so stupid that they just see they see all of these things and they go, well, that's like Muslimic style, backwards barbarians that just want to kill Americans because they hate our freedoms or whatever. Vindicated like HasanAbi. Yeah, a lot of vindication left and right taking place as of late. This is a huge story in China right now, given how big of an outcry the installation of this caused back in 2017. Chinese tourism in South Korea was stopped. The Lot Group was essentially shut down in China. Nearly all of Lot Mart's 112 Chinese stores were closed down due to the fire safety issues. Hyundai and Kia had to close factories. K-pop disappeared from Chinese media, etc. And now the U.S. is just dismantling it to send it to the Middle East. So quite literally, to have this, South Korea endured tens of billions in economic damage and did enormous harm to its relations with its neighbor and largest trading partner, only for the U.S. to take it back whenever it suited them. The lesson writes itself. Also, collective trade total between the United States and South Korea is like, I think, $150 billion. Collective total trade between Israel and the United States of America is a little bit over 10 billion. Where I don't know. I mean, I don't know if those numbers are entirely correct, considering like how much of American involvement is in Israeli industry. But those numbers are not even close to one another. Like, Korea is massive. Korea is a massive trading partner with the United States of America. Korea is infinitely more valuable from a materialist framework, if you were to look at it like that, as an ally. And same with the Gulf states. Infinitely more valuable as an ally, as a bulwark against socialism, and then also outside of that as a incredibly reliable trade partner. The idea that like we are, we bully them, we do not allow them to have any autonomy whatsoever over their own decision making, and then we just like pull out, we force them into taking THAADs, right? And then obviously the Korean leadership will be like, well, we wanted this because we're afraid of, Chinese missiles or North Korean missiles or whatever, except THAAD launchers aren't necessarily for the artillery barrage that North Korea could potentially deploy on South Korea. It's for missiles that go far beyond, right? Like it's a deterrence mechanism against China, and yet at the behest of Israel, in order to defend Israel, in order to defend Israel's ambitions of the region, we are literally over a vassal state that is infinitely more valuable to our foreign policy goals. Now, obviously, I am not someone who is in favor of American empire. I'm just exposing the contradictions here by trying to explain how stupid this is, right? I just want people to understand, like, these kinds of decisions that we are making are not even in line with American interests. They're not even in line with like pushing American hegemony. It's so Israel first that it totally drops any investment or any kind of interest that we have in regional stability and regional dominance in the Asian side of the world. It's totally ridiculous. I mean, it's been very beneficial for Russia, obviously. It's so crazy. Like, there is really no argument here. There is really no argument to be made other than if you are just Israel obsessed. If you're like an Israel obsessed pervert, then you're like, of course, America's most valuable ally is Israel. We have to do something. I mean, look at Iran. It's so dangerous. It's so scary. It's like, dog, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything until like they were literally forced to, because we assassinated their head of state and their like highest religious figure. They were totally willing, to a degree that I consider to be foolish, to play ball with America, to negotiate with America over and over again, time after time, when America showed that they did not actually want to do any real negotiations, and they used perfidy and lied about their ambitions to negotiate. And then use that as an opening to blow up Iran, as they did in the 12-day war. And the Iranians were still down. They were still down to negotiate. It's so stupid. And it blows my mind that there's confusion about why we're doing this, right? Like why this is all happening. It's just, you have to have the most cattle-minded, servile American MAGA hogs that are so inebriated and so incapacitated, so stupid, that they just cannot comprehend that this is being done at the behest of Israel. That's it, and nothing else. Who is more devout, Muslims or Christians? They both have like 2 billion followers. I don't know, and it doesn't matter right now. Pot Johns are coming for the Dems next. Yeah, I mean, it's just unbearable, dude. I mean, yeah, this is friend of the show, 2 friends of the show, Tommy Vitor and Ben Rhodes, talking
House
about
Representatives voted down a bill to stop the war in Iran. Now, Trump would have vetoed it, but it was important symbolically. 4 Democrats voted in favor of allowing Trump and Pete Hegseth to continue this regime change war of choice in Iran, which is just insane to me.
If you vote for the funding of this war, you should be primaried. I don't want you in the Democratic Party. And I'm not trying to be, obtuse or stubborn, but this is a threshold issue. Like, I would like to have a big tent on this party. I think there should be people with different ideas of how to get health care, different ideas of taxation. To me, this is not a left-center issue.
See, this is where Ben Rhodes and I also don't completely align, okay? Because I don't even agree on that. I think we should have an incredibly disciplined, incredibly organized party apparatus that is straight up, maybe sometimes even physically whipping those votes, okay? So no, I don't. I think there needs to be party discipline. I would give me the Democratic Party. I would run it like a Leninist. Okay. There's no more like internal. There's no more internal pushback. I mean, they do it already. When you think about it, we already do this. We do this at the behest of capital. I want to whip the party to ensure that the party structure, the output, the National Democratic Party is only working in the favor of the working class. That's it. No more disagreements. We're just doing shit. It's ridiculous. Like the Big Tent conversation. Look, I don't think Ben Rhodes is insincere. I think this is just something he sincerely believes. Okay? I think this is something he sincerely believes. I think a lot of liberals, a lot of Democrats sincerely believe that there is this like real back and forth disagreement that's happening, and those arguments are real, and it makes us a better party, all this stuff. I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. I think that all of that is theatrics. It's theater. Okay? It's fucking theater. And the party itself also absolutely is actively undermining spoilers, but not spoilers to the center, not spoilers to their right, but spoilers to their left, right? They treat the left flank as the true spoilers because, let's be real, the Democratic Party is, as a national party, a center-right neoliberal party. It's not an accident that they're consistently undermining their left flank.
This is a right and wrong issue. Morally, what do we stand for as Democrats? If you as a Democrat can't say that I'm against a war and I'm not going to fund a war that is being launched by an authoritarian president illegally with no rational basis that is explained to the American people that has already unleashed these consequences, if you can't stand against that, you don't stand for a fucking thing, okay? And everybody can see it. How is anybody going to trust you to fight for their health care if you're too afraid to cast a vote that someone might call you weak or some donor might call you and complain? It's
an astounding lapse in judgment, I think, to trust Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to lead a regime change war of choice.
Like, this is what I mean. Like, this argument, I think, falls short of what's necessary here because, like, what? So if it was, like, a competent Democratic leader, should we trust them for regime change? Because, like, the principled stance here, and I like these guys saying this, okay? I make no mistake. They're moving the needle. A lot of liberals are finally like having these sorts of conversations, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, no war with Iran as a starting point is the moral bare minimum, right? No war with Iran. This is ridiculous. Is the bare minimum. But as people who have worked within the Democratic Party, for people to come to that conclusion and for people to openly state that, that's a good thing. That's healthy. That means the conversation is moving in a positive direction. Okay? And there's obviously still a lot of room for growth because, like, I don't even know if Tommy Vitor would personally be on board with, like, regime change in Iran, right? I don't know, but the way that he communicates here makes it seem as though he's open to it. I say no regime change. Regime change can only come from within. That's it. If there's a popular enough revolution and there's real mobilization and there's a real regime change, great. If the Iranian people get their wishes across and they like democratically organize, fantastic. If they have a vanguard party, if I have a Marxist-Leninist revolutionary movement, fucking awesome. I don't care, right? I don't believe that we are capable of conducting regime change that is beneficial for the public, because that's not who we are. We are an imperialist nation, and therefore, and Trump is basically pretty honest about it, pretty brutally honest about it, all of our interference in other countries' affairs is not at the behest of the citizens. It's basically what you're seeing unfold right now, which is death and destruction from above, because we are obviously too worried about doing boots on the ground military warfare. So it's good. I'm glad that there are people, pushing this line, right? So isolationism, yes, isolationism, if you want to call it that, which is a profoundly popular and infinitely more successful way to communicate to selfish Americans. I am not a believer in isolationism. I'm an internationalist. However, America, as a capitalist, war-mongering nation, is not doing intervention at the behest of democracy. That has never happened. That has never happened, and that will never happen. So yes, I would much rather respect the sovereignty of other nations and be an internationalist. However, having said that, if the only way that we can pull America back from its interventions, I would much rather be isolationist. What is this, World War II? Brother, I don't think you understand. World War III is happening and we're the fucking Nazis. You know that, right? No, you don't, because you live in America and your head is dug into the sand like a fucking ostrich and you're oblivious to what's going on. So yes, isolationism in this regard, as the primary driver of instability around the globe, would be the best possible option. I built an entire lens of analysis based on these definitions. Fucking cool. Consciousness, the spectrum of awareness, experience, love, the force of consent, help, and hate. What are you saying, man? Please call me an Amerifat. I feel like it's the true HasanAbi experience. We're all Amerifat. Yeah, isolationism in the interim is just containing American death and destruction. It's overall beneficial for the rest of the world. It's for the greater good. Just a question, how can you distinguish between a real revolution and one backed by foreign powers like the CIA and Mossad? I've seen many people during the December Iran protests say it's backed by the CIA and Mossad, and while I don't doubt they had influence, how can you tell this isn't a genuine will of the people? There's never been a protest that does not have a protest that has happened in a foreign country that is just like entirely CIA backed. Okay, the CIA is not omnipresent, so there is real anger and real resentment born out of a foreign government's inability to address the desires and address the needs of its people. This certainly has happened in Iran as well. So it's a bit of both, but it doesn't fucking matter. Okay, it doesn't matter, because our goals, the CIA goals or the Mossad's goals here, is not remotely interested in bringing about a liberal, secular, democratic process to Iran. It's not. There are also never any big scale protests without some sort of external support. I mean, the inception point for a lot of those protests, beyond like the regular reforms that people understandably demand from their government in Iran, is the economic setbacks, like the stranglehold that we have on the global markets, and how we have very deliberately destroyed the Iranian economy. Now, ironically enough, those sanctions that are ruthless, that are an act of collective punishment, have created this unique predicament where Iran actually doesn't suffer as much from blocking the fucking Strait of Hormuz, and neither does Yemen, ironically enough. Like, we have designed an isolated Iranian economy that can withstand the damming of the Strait of Hormuz, because we already don't let them participate in the global markets anyway. Yeah, if America was a part of the Allied forces right now, ideologically, an anti-fascist force, they would be doing to they would be doing to Tel Aviv what we did to Dresden. Like, that's the real story here. So whenever people say, what about World War II? It's like, yeah, that was a just war. That was an honest war. That was a good one, right? But, you know, since then, there hasn't been a single good one, a single valid one. Not even a little bit, okay? And right now, if we were actually a anti-fascist force, we would be treating Israel not as our most valuable ally or the nation state that seemingly is controlling all of our foreign policy at this stage, but instead as a hostile entity. Was it though, or did the Allies just luck in to find out about the concentration camps? I mean, yes, but that doesn't matter. Ultimately, they were trying to stop a cancerous force that was hell-bent on complete domination of the European continent. It was a valid military action regardless, both against the Japanese imperial forces and certainly against, well, Turk boy, I just want to congratulate you for educating the stupid Amerifat Westoids. Hope that you can also have more Europeans listen to you. Yeah, inshallah, one day. Iran has made demands. Things are not going well for America. Although the United States has escalated its attacks on Iran, striking Iranian Navy ships over and over again, lying about Iran mining the Strait of Hormuz, and then taking pot shots at like random go-fast boats they have docked at their coastline, and then, you know, congratulating themselves as though they stopped an actual mining initiative. Iran has yet to mine the Strait of Hormuz. I didn't believe that yesterday when CBS News reported that like American intelligence is claiming that Iran is mining the Strait of Hormuz. The reason why I don't believe that is because there are Iranian ships that are crossing the Strait of Hormuz right now, and there are Chinese ships that are crossing the Strait of Hormuz right now. So mining it would actually not be beneficial for their goals, especially when they can just hold it with, you know, the ordinary weapons that they have, right? It's much easier for them, the Iranians, to control the Strait of Hormuz and, you know, threaten ships that want to pass without getting the proper clearance or have changed their flags to Chinese flags, right? If they were to place these explosive mines, and these aren't just like the old school World War II style mines, right? These are much more sophisticated weapons. They're like little drones, basically, like little swimming drones that look like torpedoes that just hone in on the boats and specifically target like the weakest points in the hulls to like drop them, you know. And they're very different than what you would expect. It's not just like those. I mean, they do have those big ones too, right? They have the regular old school sea mines as well. But if they were to start the mining operations, that would also go against their goals of allowing, you know, Chinese ships to go through, and it's unnecessary at this point. So I think the reason why Trump and CBS at least claimed that there was a mining operation that was taking place was because they wanted to get a W. Like there's a narrative war that's taking place right now where America has to overemphasize its victory. So they want to get like their PR, right? They blow up a couple inactive boats off the coastline of Iran, small go-fast boats, and then they claim victory. Oh, we stopped their mining operation. I don't think they were doing that. I don't think they were mining the Strait of Hormuz anyway. Yeah. You're going to try to do damage control again for someone who lied about being a DSA candidate? What? The adults are talking about American foreign policy right now, chatter. I don't have any idea what the fuck you're talking about, but I hope you get well soon. Okay. It's just leftists from San Francisco, probably. No, because Shuaykat is not DSA endorsed. I didn't say that he was DSA endorsed. As a matter of fact, I brought up the fact that DSA is not exactly fond of Shuaykat. Okay, if that's what you're talking about. Not that it matters. All right, let's continue.
The U.S. has launched an intense barrage at Iranian Navy ships in and around the Hormuz Strait. Both sides are fighting to control the key waterway for global oil supplies. And the war is making gas much more expensive. If you're driving on the road, you know this. The national average is now $3.58 a gallon. Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman is in Tel Aviv with the latest. Matt, good morning. Nobody likes it when the gas starts with 3 when it used to start with 2. Good morning to you.
Absolutely not, and it looks like this could be getting even more heated. Just a short time ago, Gail, we learned that 3 ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, that narrow channel through which a fifth of the world's oil passes, were struck by suspected Iranian drones. That is, U.S. officials tell us that they see that Iran may be taking steps towards laying mines in those very waters. The U.S. military says it's hunting Iranian mine-laying ships in the Persian Gulf, but Iran appears to have tightened its grip on the choke point of the Strait of Hormuz, the world's oil passes. Just this morning, 3 ships in the Persian Gulf reported being struck by suspected Iranian drones. The U.S. says its strikes have significantly reduced Iranian missile and drone fire.
Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83%.
But Arab states along the Gulf, including the U.S. bases they host, still face dozens of daily missiles and one-way attack drones. In Bahrain, drone strikes targeted a residential building and an oil refinery which has been smoldering for days. Dubai's airport confirming it was targeted by 2 drones, which left 4 people wounded.
If the war ended today, would it be enough? Could you consider it a success?
It's definitely not a victory. I have to say that because
Thank you, CBS. Thank you, CBS, for asking the only people that matter. Okay? Love that. I love going to the only people that actually matter on this issue. You know, the Israeli security guys, okay? Yes, we are doing well, but I would like to continue the war because we have not gotten our wishes across.
regime is not going to capitulate, not in a million ways.
The U.S. and Israel say they have hobbled Iran's military with over 5,000 strikes. In Tehran, video shows cratered streets, body bags are laid out on the ground. And what the regime says was a residential high-rise hollowed out by a missile. Red Crescent rescuers claw through the skeleton of the building, rubble all around. And a new front is expanding. In Lebanon, the stronghold of Iran's main proxy in the region, Hezbollah, which began firing rockets and drones at Israel at the onset of the war. Israel now ordering more people to leave areas it is targeting. The UN says nearly 700,000 people have been forced from their homes.
Like, this is so unacceptable, okay? Israel is not only committing a fucking unjustifiable illegal war of choice in Iran, specifically to destroy this 93 million population country that is a sovereign country, but then they're also simultaneously destroying another vassal state that happens to be a neighbor to Israel, which is the worst possible proximity you can have. Like, there is no other country that is in greater danger than a country that is near Israel, okay? 700,000 people displaced from their homes because Israel gets to destroy all of these neighborhoods. Like, it's unfucking bearable.
And we're also learning more about the costs of this war. A Pentagon estimate says that in the first 2 days of this war alone, 5.6...
Ukraine? No, honestly, like, Russia is obviously a dangerous country as well, willing to get their wishes across militarily, willing to blow up Ukraine, willing to destabilize Ukraine, willing to displace millions of Ukrainians. This is real, right? But for the time being, it's just Ukraine. Israel has done Ukraine times, like Israel's done a genocide to Gaza, right? Israel already has a permanent military occupation in the West Bank. Israel has done a genocide in Gaza that it had hermetically sealed through also a military occupation. Israel then also is taking territory in Syria. Like, Europeans, the way they're terrified of Russia, that is a reality in Israel. Like, that is the reality of Israel, okay? Ironically enough, Russia and Israel also very closely associated with one another, but that's neither here nor there, right? Like, way that Europeans treat Russia and the fears that they have about this dangerous madman, this rogue nation that's like willing to cast aside international law and take take homicidal acts to its maximalist conclusion to militarily occupy a sovereign state like Ukraine, Israel is doing to multiple countries at the same time, right? Israel is such a dangerous entity that everything you can say about Iran, you could say about Israel tenfold. Everything you can say about Russia, you could say about Israel tenfold, right? It's crazy.
$6 billion were just spent on munitions, but there's also a human toll. The Pentagon also saying that about 140 U.S. service
Another
members have
HasanAbi
been
vindication
wounded,
for
but
later.
they say that most of them have returned to duty. Vlad.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
New images near the Strait of Hormuz off Iran where
Trump posturing about nuclear war. I mean, this is something that I've been very scared of from the start. America and Israel both, if they feel like they've withstood too much humiliation, if they've endured too much humiliation from a country that we have been able to successfully destroy the economy of for years and years and years, I think that there is the last destabilizing thing that they could do, which is going up the escalation ladder to nukes.
They've lost their Navy, they've lost their Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft apparatus at all, they have no radar, their leaders are gone, and we could do a lot worse to one another. We're leaving certain things that if we take them out, or we could take them out by this afternoon, in fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back.
I don't think he means nukes. I think like that's speculation. That's speculative. Although it is an option, obviously, it's the final option. I don't think that he means nukes, though. I think he's talking about like the electricity grid, like civilian infrastructure, because like I said, if they nuke a country, it's over, right? Like if we nuke a country, the world is over. One nuke launches and then all the nukes have to launch. That's kind of the principle with mutually assured destruction. Even if it's a non-nuclear nation that you're nuking, you kind of can't do that, right? Like the way I see it, this incredibly dangerous, where Israel feels threatened enough that they're crazy enough to like deploy a nuke, because they do have them, on Iran. Let's say Iran has depleted the Israeli munitions so successfully that they're now literally just hitting shelters with some of their ballistic missiles, and Israelis are dying by the thousands, right? In a situation like that, before it even gets there, Israel would literally escalate and would probably threaten the nuclear option, or might even commit the nuclear option on Iran. What happens next in that situation? Again, I'm not saying this is likely, right? I'm simply explaining to you what would happen in that situation, right? Israel nukes Iran, Russia nukes Lviv or some other like Ukrainian territory. Nukes would start flying all around the world, right? Like in that moment, once you deploy the first nuke after Hiroshima and Nagasaki on civilian territory or like military territory on a foreign adversary, every other country that has nukes has to use them. They have to use them. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Otherwise, nukes are utterly meaningless. As a deterrent, other nations would have to use their nukes. No, they don't. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Once the first nuke flies, every other country has to use their nukes. Is this hard to comprehend? Because in that moment, this is how mutually assured destruction works. Because in that moment, like you literally, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's over. Nuclear first strike has happened. Everyone has to start using their nukes. Everyone has to deploy their nukes. First, towards non-nuclear proliferated nations, and then to other nuclear proliferated nations, and the entire world collapses. Even if one nuke was used, there's also the ecological disaster that comes from that as well. And I I'm not super fucking well read on this, but like this is how mutually assured destruction works. Like You're oversimplifying, Matt. If the U.S. used a tactical nuke, Russia would likely use a tactical nuke on Ukraine, not the big missiles. Oh my God. Yes, dude. But a nuke would be deployed. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter. Do you know what a tactical nuke is, by the way? That's not how mutual assured destruction works, man. Matt is about direct conflict between nuclear powers. Oh my God. I know. But this is a proxy war between a nuclear country with a non-nuclear country. Russia happens to also be engaged in a proxy war with a non-nuclear country. That's what I'm talking about. Hello? And eventually, it would turn into nuclear proliferated countries fighting against one another. It's over. The first country that slings nukes is over. It's just the world is over. It completely collapses. This may not be the case. It may be a radical anti-American, anti-Israeli coalition. Matt doesn't really apply in a multipolar setup with nukes on non-nuke countries. Why would Russia not deploy a tactical nuke, a mini nuke, which, by the way, is still far more powerful than the atom bomb that we used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? When people say tactical nukes, they don't comprehend the destructive capabilities of said tactical nukes, okay? It's not just like a regular explosive ordnance. It's not like Moab. All of a sudden, we go up the fucking escalation ladder and we deploy nukes for the first time since Hiroshima and Nagasaki on a foreign adversary. And everyone that is a nuclear armed nation has to use their nukes in order to show the rest of the world that they have the capability of using nukes as a military deterrent. Because if you don't use them, you lose them. It's that simple. So when people say, oh, it's just a tactical nuke, one, they don't understand the scope, the size, and the damage of a tactical nuke. Okay. They just think it's like something tiny. It's far more vast. It's far more dangerous than the atom bombs that we use in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's just not as destructive as like some of the other nuclear warheads that countries have that are even worse than that. It would also probably destroy, it would also lead to complete ecological disaster, even the deployment of like one tactical nuke, so it doesn't even fucking matter. It's over at that point. I don't even like talking about this. It's so stupid to talk about this over and over again. It's extremely unlikely, okay? It is extremely, extremely unlikely. Stop saying, explain this in more literal terms. What literally happens if you don't use the nukes? Are you saying they have to use the nukes or somebody else will nuke them? Be clearer. Yes. At that point, Russia will absolutely deploy a tactical nuke back on Ukraine. There's no other way out of this. And then Europe, which is also nuclear, Europe is also armed with nukes themselves, could potentially panic and do something crazy. America could panic and do something crazy, or likely to do something crazy after that. And then it's nuclear holocaust. It's unlikely, and discussing it endlessly is pointless because if it happens, it's over for everyone. I know. I'm just talking about how devastating that would be. People think mutually assured destruction only applies to nuclear armed nations, but what they fail to consider is that no one has deployed a mini nuke or a tactical nuke on a non-nuclear armed nation since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Perhaps there is a reason for that. Do you know why? It's because when foreign adversary countries outside of American control and the American nuclear umbrella have nuclear sovereignty, that is part of the reason why America can't deploy fucking nukes in Korea. Brother, what are you saying? If Israel decides to use a nuke, it 100% wouldn't lead to every single nuclear nation to use theirs. In fact, it would lead to their demise of Israel in the geopolitical sense, lose all legitimacy and credibility in the Western states, which Israel needs to survive. You are so funny. It's been 3 fucking years of genocide. Israel already has deployed 6 metric tons, like 6 atom bombs worth of munitions in Gaza. Okay? Genocide and nuke are 2 different things. You have the brain of a fucking baby if you think, oh, this would be a PR nightmare for Israel. You are living in a totally alternative reality. Okay? That is hilarious that you think that this would just destroy Israel's credibility. What the fuck are you talking about, man? I can't entertain this conversation. Let's just continue.
New attacks are now sending oil prices on another wild ride today. This is a tie flagged ship, one of at least 3 vessels that have been struck today in that critical waterway. Thailand's Ministry of Transport says 20 crew members have been rescued. 3, though, remain unaccounted for. We're going to show you a map of the approximate locations of these attacks on ships today in the Strait. A reminder, some 20 million barrels of fuel a day move through this critical shipping route, and it is clearly effectively remains shut down because of this very real threat. Let's get right to Paula Hancock's live in Abu Dhabi for the latest on this. What are you hearing here?
Well, Kate, we just heard from the UK Maritime Agency, and they say that as of now, they believe that about 13 vessels have been impacted since this war started. Now, you mentioned that Thai-flagged ship. We have some more information on that as well from authorities. They said that there was an explosion at the stern and then a fire broke out in the engine room. Now, this is believed to be where those 3 missing sailors were on duty at the time. So 20 rescued by the Omani Navy. We know that the captain told the crew to evacuate. They got in lifeboats and were then saved, but 3 still missing at this point. So it is a great concern that Iran appears to be ratcheting up these attacks on vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and in these very critical waters. Now, one of the vessels we understand was a cargo vessel, so we're not just talking about the restrictions of oil getting to where it needs to here. There's a lot more of. Now, a quick look at what else has been happening since Iran has said that it's going to have its most intense and heaviest operation. We do appear to be seeing a fairly consistent retaliation across the Gulf nations. Here in the UAE, we have been hearing a number of different waves of interceptions. Dubai Airport, there were 2 drones that hit nearby. We understand that 4 people have been injured there, authorities saying in the vicinity of Dubai Airport that fell. Flights have started to take off again now, though. We also know that in Bahrain, in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, they have also seen interceptions and alerts over the past 24 hours. And Iran has also expanded, if you like, its target list. We are hearing from Iranian officials through state media that they say now offices and assets of major American tech companies with operations in the region would be considered a legitimate target. Now, clearly, there are many in this Gulf region. We also had an interesting quote I want to bring to you from the Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson saying that from day one they had warned that this could be the potential fallout of any military action in Iran. He said, quote, "This is the biggest I told you so in."
They have used 10x the explosive equivalent on Gaza as compared to the nuclear strikes on Japan. The 6 to 8 number is old stats. Apologies.
The history of I told you so's in the world. Clearly, there is frustration and anger among leaders in this region. Kate.
Very clearly. Paula Hancock, thank you so much, Paula, for bringing us all of those new headlines. I really appreciate it.
The geography is extremely well known and understood. And perhaps because of that, the risks currently being faced are so severe. Take, for example, Maersk Shipping, which has got at least 10 ships that it says stranded in the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz. And
the more likely scenario is not that Israel uses nukes, but the more likely scenario is that Israel threatens to use nukes to try to get America to do boots on the ground military deployment into Iran, which is a devastating quagmire and will cause tremendous loss of life, both on the Iranian side and certainly on the American side as well. But that is the reason why I say nuclear first strike is not really an option here. The more likely option is that Israel says to Donald Trump that we're going to use nukes, or let's say, and this is not happening right now, but let's say Iran starts deploying salvos with the similar frequency as they did in the first couple of days. They're able to dig up the entrances into their munitions facilities, and they're capable of like launching salvos, like barrages of missiles, like they were in the first couple of days, to specifically erode the Israeli defenses, right? And Israel will go back to the United States of America and say, you have to go in. You have to go in, boots on the ground, or else we're going to fucking nuke them. That's what it would happen. That's how this conversation would take place. And then I suspect that America would most likely go there. Now, Iran's capabilities are not there right now. If you look at the ballistic missiles that they're using, that they deploy, they're for the most part utilizing the cluster bombs. They're not using some of their larger missiles are easier to intercept. It's virtually impossible to intercept the cluster munitions. That's why they keep deploying the cluster munitions to keep up the pressure on regular Israeli society. But they're not doing massive salvos like they were in the first couple of days with the specific purpose of eroding the Israeli defense capabilities. And part of the reason why I think they're not capable of doing that is because Israel and America have successfully shut off the entrance points into some of these facilities. Now, will they be able to dig themselves out of these facilities and then continue doing massive barrages? Probably not, because America and Israel have tremendous offensive capabilities. They don't have unlimited defensive capabilities, but they have tremendous, virtually unlimited offensive capabilities, right? Offensive weapons are nowhere near as sophisticated. As long as you have some kind of aerial superiority that you have over specific parts of Iran, which they do, right? Especially because the Iranian anti-air defense systems are either loitering or they are defense systems that they can't have. They're not fixed position defense systems because those would be the first to go, right? So for that reason, I think that they have been able to effectively shut off some of these silos where a lot of the munitions are, and the Iranians, as it stands, are not capable of Iranians are currently not capable of digging themselves out. Right? Anytime that they do, America comes back, they blow up the entrance because they can't get to the actual production, the production facilities because they're underground. There are obviously like buildings above ground, and they blow those buildings up, but they can't successfully penetrate the deep underground missile munitions production facilities and where these missiles are stored, right? And where these launchers are stored as well. Incorrect. They just did it. Dramatic footage from Israel. That's Hezbollah, brother. That's what. Shh, stop. I'm not talking about Hezbollah. I'm talking about Iran right now. Okay, calm down. We're going to talk about that in a
any more on the outside that it can't get in or out because obviously the waterway is so difficult. In addition, they are refusing to send now ships up through into the Red Sea because of the possibilities of the
quiet chatter. Dr. Jihad is talking, okay?
Houthis and the risks around Yemen. As a result, something like Maersk is saying the current situation is absolutely uncharted and unprecedented.
Some of the hubs on which global trade does rely on are actually being affected, are being closed by the situation right now. It's true from Jebel Ali, it's true for Abu Dhabi. It's true for a few of those hubs, and this is going to create ripple effect, I think, for a while, as we need to see how this is going to sort itself out. In the short run, we can manage this, but if this was to endure, this would create, I think, serious congestions and serious issues across the global supply chain.
What happens next is anybody's guess. The very idea that this area is being mined by the Iranians, or indeed that the US is going in and starting to attack those various rubber dinghies and ships that's doing the mines, it's simply unheard of, and frankly, we don't know how it will develop. The only thing we can say with any degree of certainty is that as long as that waterway remains closed, then the price of oil just keeps rising. Richard Quest, CNN, London.
With us now, CNN national security analyst Beth Sanner, and with us, CNN military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton. And Beth, I just want to start with the latest news from what we've been seeing inside the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the cargo vessels that's been hit. This is a new image we're getting in. Yeah. You can see the smoke coming out of that. It is one of 3 vessels hit, 1, 2, 3 over the last 12 hours or so. So what does this tell you? If the Iranians are doing this to ships in this key shipping lane, what does it tell you about what they're capable of and what their plans are?
So what we're seeing now, so we started off with this idea yesterday that they were going to start putting mines in. And I think that we have to understand here that mines are part of a system, right? So it's mines, drones, rockets.
Yeah, and no, they did not put down mines. I don't think they put down mines. Noah Smith is a Nazi. Yeah, I know he is. But yeah, I mean, he is the classic scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds moment. Straight up. I simply don't understand the gall of the U.S. to start a war with Iran and then be mad that Iran is punishing back. It's because we've grown far too comfortable. We've grown far too comfortable with our power. And for that reason, we literally think it's illegal to fight back. Like, we don't understand it. We're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're the world police. Like, you're not. Like, Americans have that kind of mentality almost. Like, Americans in power, and even like the average American kind of looks at the situation and goes like, what do you mean you're fighting back? That's literally illegal. Hello. Like, at most you can fight back with like old weapons that we gave the Taliban, right? Like, you are not under any circumstance allowed to, hurt our bases, hurt our soldiers. It doesn't make any sense. That's kind of how it works. So they're just like a little bit confused by this.
Missiles, right? And so in this very small area, and the only place that you can pass here is really only 2 miles, not 20 miles. And so when you have this much concentration, what the Iranians are telling us is like, we're in, right? This is now, they have made a decision that they are shutting their own access here by laying these mines. They're shutting themselves in, essentially.
Yeah, except that's the reason why they didn't. Like that's... I don't think they actually laid down mines. Like, I think that's, anyway, it doesn't make sense. Maybe they did, right? Maybe they did, but it kind of doesn't make sense to lay down mines because they have the capabilities. One, it would stop them from exporting their own oil, right? And they're still doing that. 2, it would stop them from allowing Chinese ships to be able to pass through, because once you put the mines down, it's over, right? And last but not least, and this is perhaps the most important, and they're kind of saying this out loud, they don't need to mine the Strait of Hormuz to stop ships from moving through the Strait of Hormuz. As we've seen from the Thai ship that tried to pass through, they can just blow it up.
And it's worth it for them. So they're all in now.
One of the things that Bim's saying, showing they have a vote in all of this. And just to give you one more sense of what this is, them shutting down the waterway, you can see ships here on one end of the strait, ships here on one end of the strait. But by and large, this area here.
Are mind maps not a thing? First of all, these are smart mines regardless. Secondly, even if you have mind maps, what are you talking about? You're going to reveal mind maps to China? Like, you're going to give mind maps to like you're going to tell where you're going to tell any other foreign country where your mines are? You're going to tell your own commercial oil tankers where the mines are? That's not how this works. Because even if you were to escort with the Iranian Navy, which is like incredibly fucking limited, right? Even if you were to escort the Iranian oil tankers or the Chinese oil tankers with the Iranian Navy through where the mines are, then you're just revealing where the fucking mines are. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not, it's the opportunity cost doesn't make sense at all. It is infinitely cheaper to control the Strait of Hormuz by saying we're going to blow your shit up. And if a oil tanker is crazy enough to try to go through that, and they'll get blown up, just like it happened today. Does that make sense? It's ineffective and inefficient. It's a last option. It is a last resort option that I suspect Iran would not utilize until until they're completely out of other options. Especially because that would make it so that it's too dangerous for Chinese carriers to cross, and they're not going to do that.
Most narrow area, 20 miles wide, but the shipping lane itself really just 2 miles. That all but empty. Cedric, I want to go to you with one other development overnight. This is inside Iraq, right? Inside Iraq, a key U.S.
What's the American reason for pushing the mines narrative? I think they wanted to get a W, like as though they are like reaching a military objective, because it's very clear that they're not successfully reaching their military objectives in Iran. So they created a straw man military objective and then act like they and are now behaving like they actually destroyed a tactical position for the enemy. That's it. Instill in allied nations that are stupid enough to maybe like push an oil tanker through. I mean, that's it. They removed all the mines. Yeah, they're making it seem, first of all, right now, as it stands, if there were mines that were being put down, I don't even know if America has any naval assets in the region that can sweep for mines. They might. I'm unfamiliar. But as far as I understand, we have like 5 decommissioned naval assets that only recently were brought back. And we're trying to utilize them. It also takes a very long time. It takes a very long time to do a mine sweep operation, and you can't do it while you're potentially under fire by Iranian rocket strikes and Iranian drone strikes. You just can't go in there and look for mines at all right now. So it's not going to happen. You are not going to be able to engage in mine sweeping in the Strait of Hormuz while you're under constant fire from the enemy. Reuters is now claiming that Iran has laid about 12 mines, like a dozen mines in the Strait of Hormuz, but I don't know if this is real or not. Maybe they're real. Maybe it's real. I trust Reuters is reporting a little bit more than CBS, but even then, I think it's doubtful. Especially because, as I've said over and over again, they have capabilities of holding the strait without having to mine it. No, man, you got to pay attention to where the ones and twos are. Real ball knowers know. Yeah. Yeah. At the direction of President Trump, CENTCOM has been eliminating inactive mine-laying vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, wiping them out with ruthless precision. Step aside. Hegseth's eliminating inactive mine-laying vessels with ruthless precision, bombing some rusty scrap metal and crowing about it, and yet the U.S. Navy still won't go near the Gulf. Exactly. That's when you will know. You'll know if naval assets start being deployed in and around the region. If naval assets are successfully crossing the strait, American naval assets are successfully crossing the strait, that means they have total domination, okay? Total naval domination. For the time being, they're just drone striking fucking random boats off the coastline. The go fast boats that Iran has, all of their best equipment is, again, inside of tunnels. And once again, they don't even need to mine the strait to control the strait. So it doesn't make any sense. It's all the White House blowing smoke so they can trade on market manipulation as much as possible. Oh my God, speaking of market manipulation, it was so crazy. Looks like the threats on California by sleeper cells is based on vibes. We have no real indication or evidence. I know. We'll get to the sleeper cell conversation in a second. I really, really hope that we don't do like a post 9/11 style, anthrax scare.
Diplomatic Support Center was struck overnight. I'll put it was right here. You can see it right here. What, again, does that tell you about what the Iranians have in mind and what they're still capable of?
Why you never talk about other topics? You only talk about what's heating your community, what's heating my community. This is like global instability. This is fucking World War III. What the hell am I supposed to talk about?
Yeah, so John, good morning. What they're doing is they're actually looking at all the different important target sets. They've had a real opportunity to, in essence, case all these targets. They know exactly where our diplomatic facilities are. They know where some of our CIA facilities are. They know where our military facilities.
Not a good thing to admit, for the record. Remember, I fucking told you this day one. When they were striking like seemingly random targets that look like civilian targets, and everyone was like, why the fuck are they doing that? I was like, they know who's at those targets. When they have a limited striking capability, they're going to try to maximize the damage. They're not going to like randomly hit fucking civilians. They're going to be trying to hit CIA assets. They're going to be trying to hit American military, American troops that they figure out are either stationed in and are utilizing civilian ports like they were in Kuwait.
They are doing this is their way asymmetrically of going after us. On the one hand, we measure things like number of aircraft taken out. We measure things like number of vessels taken out and how many we've put to the bottom of the Persian Gulf. That's all great. But the problem is the Iranians are fighting with other means. And as Beth was pointing out, they are...
Law, that's easy, I guess, to dismiss. What about the Muslims in camps in China, though? Not today, CIA.
Are using things like drones, missiles, and mines to take that asymmetric effort forward. And in some cases, they have an asymmetric advantage. And so going after, areas like logistics centers like they did in Kuwait, going after Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and going after that diplomatic support center in Baghdad is exactly part of the Iranian playbook.
And as they try to show, go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, so what I want to add to that, and I think, Cedric, you can jump in and disagree if I'm wrong here, but I mean, it's very, very likely that this was done by Iranian-backed militias that are Iraqis, right? We have not seen them join the fight. We have Hezbollah.
Bro, CIA don't even try to do fucking psyops. They just kind of look at you like this. They just come in here and they go, come on, talk about something else. Have you considered talking about something else today? China? Maybe China?
Committing suicide in Lebanon. Literally, Israel is beating the crap out of them. And now we have Iraq joining in. Are we going to have Yemen join in? Are we going to have the Houthis join into this fight, which would, move us to the Red Sea? They haven't done that yet because it's not exactly in their interest right now to draw fire. They're kind of on their back heels right now domestically. But this is, again, an expansion of the war that we were kind of waiting for. It hasn't happened, but maybe this is it.
Cedric, when we go back to the Straits, go ahead, Cedric. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
On Pokemon Twit.
Oh no, that's okay. What I was going to say.
What is this? A few days ago, everyone was FOMOing over Pokopia because nobody had the Switch 2 yet, and now it turns out everyone's got money and bought the Switch 2 Pokopia except for me. This person doesn't even follow me. How the fuck? I'm just a suicide gif on Twitter now? That's kind of cool.
Say is Beth is right, and I think we need to look at the possibility that the Houthis will get involved at some point in time, and that would then mean that two different choke points. the Persian Gulf choke point, at the Strait of Hormuz, and the Bab el-Mandeb, who, as the Red Sea empties into the Indian Ocean. That is the kind of area that we actually could see some efforts, and that is something where the proxies, just like Beth said in Iraq, the proxies are going to play a role in this, and this is definitely an expansion of the effort, and the Iranians are controlling that narrative along with their proxies, of course.
Yeah, just so you can see what we're talking about regionally, this is the Strait of Hormuz. This would be the Red Sea right here. The Houthis operating right here, perhaps shutting down some of the shipping in and out of that region.
Yeah. By the way, open source intel is just like Mossad intel, but it's pretty funny. If you want to understand like the Iranian capabilities, this video can help you understand it a little bit better. So when the Americans say like, oh, we've destroyed their boats, we've destroyed their navy, what they fail to consider is that their fucking navy is underground. Everything is in tunnels.
انبوهی از شناورهای تخصصی هواپیمابر آمریکاست و حالا با ارتقای سنگین روی سیستم
They have tunnel maxed in ways that you cannot even comprehend.
یک ناو هواپیمابر دشمن را می‌دهیم که جوانان برومند و رشید این ملت در دریاها قادرند در مقابل
I don't know why you're making light of this. Boats only do this when they're afraid.
با هر استعدادی هماوردی شرافتمندانه
Bruh, we're fighting dwarves. What is this? Brother, this is literally 100% directly a consequence of the Korean War. Okay? I need you to understand, this is the ingenuity of the DPRK that very quickly learned their lesson after the genocide that took place with Allied forces bombing the fuck out of North Korea. And then having those engineers go to places like Iran, and then teaching them and giving them the tools to create underground facilities. This was utilized in Vietnam. This was utilized in Iran. And then these techniques were then given to Hezbollah by way of Iran and even Hamas. I'm just a suicide gif on Twitter now. That's kind of cool.
Say is Beth is right, and I think we need to look at the possibility that the Houthis will get involved at some point in time, and that would then mean that two different choke points, the Persian Gulf choke point, at the Strait of Hormuz, and the Bab el-Mandeb, who, as the Red Sea empties into the Indian Ocean. That is the kind of area that we actually could see some efforts, and that is something where the proxies, just like Beth said in Iraq, the proxies are going to play a role in this, and this is definitely an expansion of the effort, and the Iranians are controlling that narrative along with their proxies, of course.
Yeah, just so you can see what we're talking about regionally, this is the Strait of Hormuz. This would be the Red Sea right here. The Houthis operating right here, perhaps shutting down some of the shipping in and out of that region.
Yeah. By the way, open source intel is just like Mossad intel, but it's pretty funny. If you want to understand like the Iranian capabilities, this video can help you understand it a little bit better. So when the Americans say like, oh, we've destroyed their boats, we've destroyed their navy, what they fail to consider is that their fucking navy is underground. Everything is in tunnels. They have tunnel maxed in ways that you cannot even comprehend.
ناو هواپیمابر دشمن را می‌دهیم که جوانان برومند و رشید این ملت در دریاها قادرند در مقابل
I don't know why you're making light of this. Boats only do this when they're afraid.
با هر استعدادی هماوردی شرافتمندانه
Bruh, we're fighting dwarves. What is this? Brother, this is literally 100% directly a consequence of the Korean War. Okay? I need you to understand, this is the ingenuity of the DPRK that very quickly learned their lesson after the genocide that took place with Allied forces bombing the fuck out of North Korea. And then having those engineers go to places like Iran, and then teaching them and giving them the tools to create underground facilities. This was utilized in Vietnam. This was utilized in Iran. And then these techniques were then given to Hezbollah by way of Iran and even Hamas. This is part of what this is what I mean when I say, like, we have forced the hands of all of our adversaries to cooperate with one another, to engage in information sharing, to develop systems of resistance, just as our isolationist or not isolationist, but like just as we have forced countries into submission with the tools that we have with our sanctions, we've forced countries into cooperating with one another economically, where you have like new blocks being developed, like the BRICS nations, right? The same goes for anti-imperialist warfare.
انجام بدن.
سپاه در بازدید از این پایگاه زیرزمینی نیروی دریایی سپاه میگوید حالا این نیرو توانایی مقابله با تهدیدات.
Why do we care? Why do we create conditions for the most blowback possible? Is it myopic greed, hubris, a genuine bloodthirst? It's all of the above. It's arrogance too. It's imperial arrogance. It's imperial arrogance. Because we are so far removed geographically from the consequences of our actions. Like, America being where it is allows America to engage in this kind of instability, this sort of like death and destruction campaign, because we're not in striking distance. Let's be real. We are not in striking distance, with the exception of like nuclear arms, with the exception of like the USSR or China or whatever. We're not exactly in striking distance from these areas that we are causing instability at. That allows us to have imperial hubris, imperial arrogance. That allows us to have and maintain this supremacist ideology, because we are so far removed from the impact. We are so far removed from retaliation. Israel, on the other hand, is fucking insane, because they're not actually far removed from retaliation, as you are seeing over and over again. That's also part of the reason why I when I hear about like sleeper cells being activated or whatever, I think, oh, this is probably a false flag, because in order to universalize the fear and the anger and resentment towards a foreign adversary, we kind of have to strike ourselves a little bit. We kind of have to slap ourselves a little bit so that Americans actually get worried and justify this sort of action. You're talking massive for someone within striking distance of Front de Libération du Québec, tabarnak. Listen, I'm in favor of Quebecois separation, tabarnak.
Other thing, we were talking about the mines, right? The idea, CNN was reporting that that Iran, Red Sea, then CENTCOM, in the Strait of Hormuz, then CENTCOM released this video they say is of U.S. warplanes and missiles striking the Iranian mine-laying ships. Is this enough to disable them? I think we think the Iranians have, 5,000 mines that they could use? Would this be enough to stop efforts to mine the straits?
I mean, it's obviously... It helps, but we're talking about 1,000-mile coastline, and we're talking about a capacity of Iran to use all manner of ships, dhows, things that look like fishing ships. Yeah, you can't do that at scale, but you can certainly throw one or two over the back of the boat, and no one will know that. It's very, very hard to track down these very small vessels that can lay mines. So I think it's kind of whack-a-mole, and we've only whacked, one mole. It's not a lot.
Just so people say, the 1,000 miles of coastline here, this is all.
The RGC Navy chief flexing by just cruising around the detained tankers. Yeah. Three ships were hit by projectiles near the Strait of Hormuz within 3 hours, UK Maritime Monitor says. 3 commercial vessels were struck by suspected projectiles within roughly 3 hours. early Wednesday near the Strait of Hormuz, according to alerts from UK Maritime Trade Operations, the British military-run Maritime Security Monitor. Cargo vessel Express Rome at 12:35 a.m. Eastern Time. Cargo ship 11 miles north of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz was hit by an unknown projectile that sparked a fire on board. The crew requested assistance, began evacuating before the blaze was extinguished with no environmental impact reported and a skeleton crew remaining on board. Bulk carrier Mayuri Nari at 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. The bulk carrier Mayuri Nari, about 50 miles northwest, nautical miles northwest of Dubai, UAE, reported being hit by an unknown projectile. Authorities said no pollution was reported and the crew were safe and accounted for. Container ship name not disclosed at 9:58 p.m. Eastern Time. A container vessel roughly 25 nautical miles northwest of Ras Al Khaimah, UAE, sustained damage from an unknown from a suspected projectile, though the extent of the damage remains under investigation. All crew members were reported safe. The incidents come as Iran escalates warnings about shipping in the Strait. A spokesperson for the IRGC's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters said not even 1 liter of oil will be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of the United States, Israel, and their partners, adding that any vessel or cargo linked to those countries would be considered a legitimate target by Iranian armed forces. This is precisely the reason why I said they do not need to utilize mines. They can just simply laser ships that choose to go through the Strait of Hormuz after Iran has declared it closed. Okay. There's also updates on this. The IRGC Navy chief came out and said, were ships assured they could pass through the Strait of Hormuz? Asked the crews of these ships, Mayuri Neri and Express Rome, who today trusted empty promises, ignored the warnings and intended to pass through the strait, but were caught. Here's a video of the tankers waiting for Iran's signal to transit the Strait of Hormuz in footage shared by state media. That's pretty crazy. Also, once again, proving that I don't think these guys are mining the fucking strait at all. I mean, think about that. This is like leftist audio. Brother, what are you talking about? This is an IRGC Navy chief freely boating around the fucking Strait of Hormuz. This right here is, once again, a clear indication that they're not mining the strait. That's number one. And number two, they're showing that they have complete they have complete control over the strait. Like, Americans are so far, their naval assets are so far removed from the strait and having control over the naval strait that the IRGC Navy can freely boat around. Okay. Also, the other reason why I said I don't think they're mining it is because Wall Street Journal reports that Iran's control of Hormuz means it's exporting more oil today than before the war. Tehran is letting ships carrying its crude go through the strait while it scares off others. This is the other reason why I don't think they're mining it, because it would still be fairly difficult for them to avoid their own mines if that was the case. I mean, they could get naval vessels to like transport them. They could get the RGC's Navy to like help them go through the mined areas in the strait. But then you're basically exposing where the mines are to satellite imagery. It's still obviously a risk, but I just don't think that is something that they're doing. Major fire intensifying at Salalah port in Oman following an Iranian attack earlier today. I don't know why Iran would attack Oman, for the record. I just don't know if that's the case at all. Once again, we don't know. More information will come out soon enough, and we'll be able to make a better assessment. But Iran that shot the refineries in Oman.
Pictures show a Thai cargo ship on fire in the Strait of Hormuz. Thai officials say a projectile hit the stern of the ship, causing a fire in the engine compartment where 3 crew members had been working. All 20 other crew members have been evacuated safely by Oman's Navy, with efforts underway to find those remaining. The ship is one of 3 commercial vessels to be hit this Wednesday in the area. According to several US media reports, Iran has been laying mines like this one in the Strait of Hormuz, further choking off the route that carries about a fifth of the world's oil. US President Donald Trump has warned of violent consequences.
If for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran.
France 24 is not doing a Trump impersonation while talking, while reading out a Trump Truth Social post, and I feel like that's you lose style points for that.
Iran will be at a level never seen before.
A few hours after Trump's post, the US military released these images showing strikes against Iranian vessels described as mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz.
Like this, like, wow, dude, we did it. We did it, Joe. Like, what the fuck is this, bro? They're using, like, they're using old footage of striking, like, Iranian naval assets. And then 2, they're like, we blew up a fucking jet ski. Really? This is the most powerful military on the planet, guys. The most powerful military on the planet. And this is what we have to show for it.
Strikes against Iranian vessels described as mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz. In total, it says 16 boats were destroyed. These attacks have raised fears of prolonged maritime warfare, with Iran showing no sign of backing down.
We will never allow a single litre of oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of the United States, the Zionists or their partners. Any vessel whose ship or oil cargo belongs to the United States, the Zionist regime or their hostile partners will be considered a legitimate target.
Iran is believed to possess between 2,000 and 6,000 mines. Traffic through the...
Surely no boat Iran intends to use is just sitting out in the open? Yeah, no shit. They're just docked.
Strait has dropped by 97...
Yeah, Iranians are like, wait a minute. They're just hitting our fucking go-fast boats and our jet skis off the coastline? I thought we could just like leave them out there and America would not blow them up with their drones.
...% since the start of the war, with these latest incidents unlikely to reassure shipping companies. Even the US Navy is refusing to escort ships through the strait, saying the risk of attacks is too high for now.
Something extraordinary has just happened. The international...